Stages of Life, brought to you by Protege. In the heart of Kumasi, there once lived a family known by one name and one roof. A father, a mother, and 3 sons. The father of the house was called Kojo Mensa. His wife was Mame Kojo Mensa. And together, they raised 3 sons. The eldest was Kojo Mensa, the second was Yo Mensa, and the youngest was Kojo Mensa. They ate from the same pot, they shared the same compound, and for many years, no one questioned who belonged. The father was a quiet man, respected, steady, a man who believed that unity was the greatest inheritance a father could leave behind. Each morning, Kojo Mensa rose before the sun. He swept the compound slowly, not because it needed it, but because it gave him time to think. He spoke little, but when he did, his words carried weight. To him, the house was not just walls and roofs, it was a bond. He treated all 3 sons the same way. Kojo Mensa corrected Kwame equally. He guided Yo patiently and protected Kojo fiercely. When neighbors joked that Kojo followed him everywhere, Kojo only smiled. To him, a child was a child, not a question to be solved. But age began to show him. At first, it was small things. A cough that stayed too long. A pause in his step. He hid it well. He did not want to worry his family. One evening, while sitting in the compound, the pain came suddenly. Kojo Mensa brushed it aside, said it was nothing. But his wife saw it. She watched him that night as he slept less. He breathed harder. In the days that followed, he grew weaker. He called his sons together, not to speak of money, not to speak of land, but to speak of peace. He told them, "After I am gone, do not let small doubts destroy this house. Stand together." All 3 sons, Kwame, Yo, and Kojo, listened to their father as he spoke. They nodded, but words are easier to hear than to remember. Not long after, he fell ill again. This time, he did not rise. And when he finally left, he carried with him the one thing that had kept the family whole, his presence. And with his passing, the house did not only lose a man, it lost its balance. After the burial, grief sat heavily in the compound. But grief was not alone. It arrived with questions. The 2 elder sons began to look at their youngest brother differently. They studied his face, his manners, the small ways he did not resemble the man they buried. At first, nothing was said, but silence can be louder than words. The whispers began between the 2 eldest sons, Kwame and Yo. Quiet, careful, they convinced themselves that the youngest brother was not their father's child. And by that belief, they accused their own mother without ever speaking her guilt aloud. When the time came to speak of inheritance, the decision had already been made. Kwame and Yo refused to include Kojo. They said he had no right, no claim, no blood. Mame Akosua listened. She did not shout. Neither did she defend herself. She simply watched as her home began to break. Instead of settling the matter at home, the two elder sons did something unthinkable. They took their own mother to court. Kojo Mensa and Your Mensa stood before elders and authorities and claimed that she had brought another man's child into their father's house. They demanded that only two sons be recognized. When their mother, Mame Akosua Mensa, finally spoke, her voice was calm. She said she would accept whatever judgment was made, but she placed one condition before the court. All three sons would take a DNA test, and whoever was not the biological child of the man they buried would lose all rights to the inheritance. The two elder brothers agreed without hesitation. They were confident. The youngest brother said nothing. He had already been judged. The agreement was written and signed. Days passed, then weeks, until the results arrived. They sat together in silence, three brothers and their mother, waiting for truth to speak. When the results were read aloud, the room did not move. Kojo Mensa was not the biological child of the man they buried. Your Mensa was also not the biological child. Only one name remained: Kojo Mensa, the youngest, the one they rejected, the one they tried to remove from the family. Kojo Mensa alone carried the blood of their beloved father, Kofi Mensa. The court session ended quietly. There were no raised voices, no celebration, no victory songs. The faces of both brothers were filled with surprises. They didn't know this would be the outcome. Kwame and Your Mensa left the courtroom without speaking further. For the first time in their lives, they had no words. The inheritance changed that day. But something far more valuable had already been destroyed. Trust, respect, brotherhood, truth had spoken. But it had arrived too late to heal what suspicion had broken. When they returned to the compound, the home felt smaller. The mother they had accused now avoided their eyes, not out of anger, but out of exhaustion. She had carried three sons in her heart for years. That day, two of them became strangers. Kwame and Your Mensa tried to speak to her. They asked for forgiveness. But forgiveness does not arrive at the same speed as regret. She listened, she nodded, but something in her had gone quiet. She chose to leave the compound, not in anger, not in shame, but to find peace. She moved to live with a distant relative, away from the place where her name had been dragged before strangers. The youngest son remained behind. He did not celebrate his inheritance. Instead, he used it to care for his mother. He sent money. He visited often. He stood where others had stepped away. Both elder brothers stayed together in the compound, but the laughter never fully returned. They had asked a question they could not undo, and every answer after that carried its weight. DNA revealed the truth they demanded, but it also revealed something else: that not every truth repairs what doubt destroys. And sometimes the greatest loss is not inheritance, but the family that could have remained whole. In the end, the truth did not shout. It did not argue. It simply stood where it had always been. Doubt broke the family long before DNA ever did. And the lesson was very clear. When suspicion replaces love, even truth arrives too late to save what was lost.